My name is Erin Acosta, and I was 32 years old the night my family decided, out loud, in front of everyone, that I contributed nothing to their lives. The roast chicken sat in the center of the table, golden and flawless, steam rising in soft curls. My mother always cooked like this for our monthly dinners, meals designed to look generous and loving. To anyone else, this table would have felt warm. To me, it felt like a stage I'd learned to survive by disappearing. I focused on my plate, cutting my chicken into smaller and smaller pieces. It was a habit. Stay quiet, stay agreeable, get through it, go home. So, my older sister Lauren said, clearing her throat. There it was, that tone, the one she used when she wanted attention. The renovation on our guest bathroom is finally finished. I didn't look up, but I felt the shift immediately. The tightening in my chest, the familiar dread. Marble countertops, she continued, smiling as her husband leaned back beside her. Heated floors, everything custom. Her husband, Derek, nodded smugly, his arm draped across the back of her chair like a trophy display. My parents sat at opposite ends of the table, watching them with the kind of pride that used to make my stomach knot. Now it just made me tired. That sounds beautiful, sweetheart, my mom said, practically glowing. I kept my eyes down. Must be nice having Derek's income, Aunt Patricia chimed in from across the table. She never missed these dinners. Free food and front row seats to family drama. Why would she?
Senior partner at 36, she added.
37, Derek corrected, though no one had asked. Birthday last month. Lauren laughed, pleased. Then she reached across the table and squeezed Mom's hand. And something changed. We've been talking, Lauren said, her voice softening, and we think it's time we address something as a family. My father, who had been silent until now, suddenly became very interested in his wineglass. My mom's expression shifted into something gentle, sympathetic. That look always scared me more than her criticism. Address what? I asked, even though every instinct screamed at me not to engage. Lauren took a deep breath, like she was delivering bad news. Erin, she began, you're 32 years old. You've been working the same mid-level marketing job for 5 years. You're still renting that tiny apartment downtown. You drive a car that's almost a decade old. My car runs fine, I said quietly. That's not the point, Lauren snapped, the softness gone. The point is, you're not moving forward. You're not contributing. You're just existing. Derek nodded like she'd just quoted something profound. My nephew shifted in his chair, sensing the tension, but Lauren shot him a look and he froze. I have a good job, I said, hating how defensive my voice sounded. I pay my bills. I'm doing fine. Are you? Aunt Patricia asked, tilting her head. When Lauren and Derek bought their house, they invited everyone. When they had their son, the nursery was ready before he was born. They build, they contribute, they achieve. My hands were shaking under the table. I pressed them against my thighs. Sweetheart, my mom said, and her tone made my chest tighten. We love you, but Lauren has a point. You don't really contribute much to this family. You keep to yourself. You barely visit, and when you do, you don't bring anything to the table. Anything? I asked sharply. I brought wine tonight, dessert last month, the month before that. That's not what your mother means, Dad interrupted, finally looking at me. You don't help. When we needed someone to watch the house, Lauren stepped up. When we needed help moving furniture, Lauren and Derek were there. You're always too busy. I was working, I said. I couldn't take time off on short notice. There's always an excuse, Lauren said, standing now, fully in her moment. Do you know how many times I've had to cover for you? Explain why my sister can't be bothered to show up? I'm here every month. Tyler's birthday, she shot back. You left after an hour. I had food poisoning. Did you? She raised an eyebrow. Or were you just uncomfortable because everyone there was successful and you felt out of place? The table went silent. Every eye was on me, waiting. I don't know what you want me to say, I finally whispered. Lauren sat back down, folding her hands like a CEO concluding a meeting. I want you to admit the truth, she said calmly, that you've been a disappointment. That while the rest of us have been building lives, you've been coasting, taking up space. That's cruel, I said. It's honest, she replied. Mom and Dad have been too patient with you. Someone needed to say it. I looked at my parents. Dad stared at his plate. Mom dabbed her eyes like she was the victim here. Is this true? I asked them. You feel this way about me? We're just concerned, Mom said softly. We want better for you. Better, I repeated, the word bitter on my tongue. At your age, Derek added. Lauren and I already had a house, careers, a child. What do you have? The question hung in the air. What did I have? Years of exhaustion, anxiety, watching my sister get praised while I learned how to disappear. Monthly dinners where I felt like a ghost at my own table. And something else, something none of them knew. You're right, I said suddenly. Everyone looks surprised. I don't contribute anything to this family. Lauren smiled, satisfied. I stood up, picking up my purse. Since we all agree I contribute nothing, I said calmly, there's no reason for me to keep paying anymore. Dad's fork hit the plate. Paying for what? I smiled, slow, steady. The mortgage. And in that moment, I watched every face at the table begin to crack. For a second, no one spoke. The word mortgage hung in the air like smoke, thick and choking. My father was the first to react. His fork slipped from his hand and clattered against the plate, loud enough to make my nephew jump. The mortgage? Dad repeated, laughing once, too sharply. What are you talking about, Aaron? My mother's face had gone completely still. Not confused, not surprised. Frozen. Lauren stared at me like I'd spoken another language. This isn't funny, she said. If this is some kind of joke. It's not a joke, I said evenly. I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone. My hands weren't shaking anymore. That surprised me. For the first time all night, my body felt calm. I opened my banking app, scrolled, and turned the screen toward the table. Rows of transactions filled the display. $8,000. Every month. Same date, same account. 3 years. The transfer started 36 months ago, I said. Every single month. My mom's breath hitched. She gripped the edge of the table like she needed it to stay upright. That money, I continued, goes directly into Mom and Dad's account, the one tied to their mortgage. Silence. Then Lauren turned slowly toward our parents. Mom, she asked. Dad? My father stood up so abruptly his chair scraped backward. Aaron, he said, his voice rough. This isn't the time. No, I replied quietly. This is exactly the time. My mom finally spoke, her voice barely audible. We didn't want you to say anything. Lauren's eyes widened. Say what? I looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman who had just spent 20 minutes tearing me apart for not contributing. 3 years ago, I said, Dad came to my apartment. He told me the business had failed, that they'd refinanced the house twice and still couldn't keep up. He said the bank was getting ready to foreclose. Dad's face had gone red now, angry, ashamed, both. He asked me not to tell anyone, I continued, especially you, Lauren. He said it would humiliate Mom. He said it would destroy the image you all worked so hard to maintain. Lauren's mouth fell open. You're lying. I wish I were. I scrolled back farther on my phone. That's 36 payments, $8,000 each, $288,000 total. Aunt Patricia gasped audibly. Derek's smug expression was gone. I could see him doing the math in his head, his jaw tightening with every second. You've been paying their mortgage? Lauren whispered. Yes. My mom finally broke down. We never meant for it to go on this long. You said it would be temporary? I said, looking at Dad. You said a few months, a year at most. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Lauren turned back to me, her voice sharp. Where did you even get that kind of money? I let the silence stretch. From my job, I said. The one you all just mocked. Derek frowned. That doesn't make sense. You're in marketing. I'm a senior strategist, I corrected. I make just under $180,000 a year. The room went dead quiet. I could afford a house like yours, Lauren, I added. I just chose not to. I stayed in my tiny apartment. I kept my old car because I was paying for theirs. Lauren looked like she might be sick. You never said anything, she whispered. No one asked. Aunt Patricia shifted uncomfortably. I had no idea. None of you did, I said, and that was the point. My mom reached for my hand. I stepped back. Tonight, I continued, I sat here while you all told me I was a disappointment, that I didn't contribute, that I took up space. I looked around the table. So I'm agreeing with you. Dad took a step toward me. Aaron, please, we can talk about this privately. No more private conversations, I said firmly. Not when I've been your secret for 3 years. Lauren stood up now, panic creeping into her voice. You can't just stop. The mortgage is due in 5 days. I know. We'll lose the house. Then you'll have to figure it out, I said calmly, like you would have if I hadn't stepped in. My mom started sobbing. We had an arrangement. I laughed softly. An arrangement where I paid your bills and you let everyone believe I was failing. Derek finally spoke. This is manipulation. I turned to him slowly. No, this is a boundary. I picked up my bag. The payment scheduled for Friday will be the last one. Chaos erupted behind me. My mother crying harder, Lauren demanding answers, my father trying to explain, but I was already walking away. At the door, I paused and turned back. For what it's worth, I said quietly, I really did have food poisoning at Tyler's birthday. I spent the night in the ER. I texted Mom. She never replied. My mom's face crumpled. I thought you were making excuses, she whispered. I know, I said. Then I left. As I drove back to my apartment, my old car running perfectly fine, I felt something unfamiliar settle in my chest. Relief. Behind me, the house I'd been secretly holding together was starting to collapse. And for the first time, I wasn't going to stop it. I didn't make it 10 minutes down the road before my phone started vibrating. Dad, Mom, Lauren. One after another, relentless. I declined every call. By the time I reached my apartment, my hands were shaking, but not from fear. It was adrenaline, sharp and electric, like my body finally realizing the fight was over. I locked the door behind me and leaned against it, breathing hard. 3 years. 3 years of keeping secrets. 3 years of swallowing comments, of shrinking myself at that table while quietly transferring more money than most people made in a year. And not once had anyone asked if I was okay. I turned my phone off completely. The silence that followed felt unreal. No buzzing, no guilt, no emergency to manage. I poured myself a glass of wine and stepped out onto my small balcony. The city stretched out in front of me, lights glowing, cars moving, life continuing like nothing had happened. Somewhere across town, my parents were probably panicking. Lauren was probably spiraling. Derek was probably calculating damage control. And for the first time, none of it was my responsibility. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and more text messages than I cared to count. I made coffee and read them slowly, one by one. Dad, please call us. We need to talk. Mom, I'm so sorry. I never meant for you to feel unappreciated. Lauren, you're being unreasonable. This isn't how family treats each other. Derek, as someone with financial experience, I think we should discuss this calmly. I deleted most of them. Then I typed one message into the family group chat. I meant what I said. The payment stops Friday. You've had 3 years to prepare. Don't contact me again until you're ready to speak to me with respect. I hit send. Then I blocked every number. Work became my refuge. At the office, I was Aaron Acosta, senior strategist, problem solver, someone people listened to. My coworker Marcus noticed immediately. You seem lighter, he said during lunch, studying me over his coffee, like something changed. I quit something that was draining me, I said. He smiled. Good. Life's too short. He didn't know how right he was. Later that afternoon, he hesitated by my desk. Hey, Sarah's birthday drinks are Friday night. Rooftop bar downtown. You should come. I almost said no out of habit. Then I remembered why I always said no. $8,000 a month. That was why. I'll be there, I said. Marcus blinked. Really? Yeah, I said, surprising both of us. Really? Thursday evening, there was a knock at my door. I already knew who it was. Aunt Patricia stood in the hallway holding a casserole dish like a peace offering. I brought lasagna, she said. Your mother's recipe. That figures, I replied, opening the door but not stepping aside. She sighed. Can I come in? Against my better judgment, I let her. She looked around my apartment, clearly surprised. This is nice. Cozy. I always pictured it smaller. Everyone did, I said flatly. She set the dish down and turned to me. I had no idea about the money, Aaron. None of us did. Would it have mattered? I asked. Would you have stopped Lauren when she was tearing me apart? Patricia looked down. Probably not. At least she was honest. Your mother is devastated, she said quietly. Your father doesn't know what to do. They should have thought about that before they let everyone think I was a failure, I replied. Patricia hesitated. They wanted me to ask if there's any chance you'd reconsider, even temporarily. There it was. Even now it was about the money. I felt anger rise, sharp and clean. They had 3 years of reconsideration, I said. This isn't about help. It's about consequences. She didn't argue, just nodded slowly. Friday morning, I logged into my banking app. The recurring transfer stared back at me. My finger hovered for 1 second. Then I pressed cancel. Done. My phone started buzzing immediately. I turned it face down and got ready for work. In the mirror, I looked the same, but something fundamental had shifted. Like I'd been carrying a weight so long, I'd forgotten it wasn't part of me. That night, I went to Sarah's birthday drinks. The rooftop bar glittered with city lights and laughter. When I walked in, Sarah squealed and hugged me like she was genuinely happy to see me. Marcus handed me a drink. We talked about movies, travel, nothing that hurt. For the first time in years, I felt normal. Later, standing on this balcony, Marcus leaned beside me. What changed? He asked gently. I stopped living my life for other people, I said. He smiled. It suits you. Saturday morning, another knock came at my door. This time it was Lauren. Her eyes were red. Her hair wasn't perfect. She looked human. Can we talk? She asked. I stepped aside. We sat on opposite ends of the couch. Mom and Dad are going to lose the house, she said immediately. I know. How can you be so calm? Because I've been carrying their panic for 3 years, I said. It's not mine anymore. She swallowed. Derek and I can cover half the mortgage if we cut everything else. Then do it, I said. That's between you and them. You could stop this, she snapped. You could fix it. I already did, I said quietly. For 3 years. She stared at me, realization finally sinking in. And for the first time, I didn't feel invisible. I felt finished. Lauren didn't leave right away. She sat there, elbows on her knees, staring at the floor like the room might offer answers I wouldn't. I didn't know, she said again, softer this time. About the money, about any of it. You didn't want to know, I replied. She flinched. There's a difference. She looked up at me then, eyes glassy. Derek and I fought all night, about everything. Money, appearances, debt. That caught my attention. We're drowning, Erin, she admitted. We make good money, but we spend more trying to look like we're doing great. The bathroom renovation? Credit cards. The Europe trip last summer? Credit cards. I leaned back, absorbing that. We've been performing success, she continued bitterly. And you? Quiet, small apartment, old car. You made me feel insecure, like maybe you knew something I didn't. So you tore me down, I said flatly. She nodded, tears spilling over. I was jealous. The word hung between us, heavy and undeniable. I'm sorry, she whispered. What I said at dinner was cruel. I wanted everyone looking at you so they wouldn't look at me. I know, I said. That's why it hurt. The following week, my parents asked for family therapy. I agreed on conditions. Honesty, accountability, no manipulation. The session was ugly. My father admitted the truth stretched back 5 years, not 3. Bad investments, pride, fear, lies layered on top of lies. My mother admitted she'd known I was hurting at those dinners, but hadn't defended me because she didn't want to upset Lauren. I chose the path of least resistance, she said through tears, and that path had led straight through me. Lauren and Derek admitted they'd measured worth through appearances, and my quiet life threatened that illusion. No one left that room feeling victorious, but everyone left exposed. The house went into foreclosure 2 months later. Even with Lauren and Derek helping, it wasn't enough. My parents downsized into a modest condo, and strange as it sounds, they seemed lighter there. Less pressure, fewer things to maintain. Lauren and Derek sold their house, the one with the perfect guest bathroom. They moved somewhere smaller, started financial counseling. And I stayed firm. No money, no rescue. Only boundaries. Life slowly began to expand again. Without the monthly transfer draining my account, I started saying yes. Yes to dinners. Yes to weekends away. Yes to things that felt like living instead of surviving. Marcus and I grew closer. Coffee breaks turning into late conversations, then into something steadier. He never asked me to be smaller, never treated my boundaries like a flaw. For the first time, I felt chosen without being used. Lauren and I rebuilt carefully. We were never best friends, but we became honest ones. I don't want to raise my kids the way we were raised, she told me one night. I don't want them measuring love in money or approval. That's a start, I said. Months later, I sat in my new living room. Not extravagant, not performative. Just mine. Sometimes I opened my banking app and saw the number that used to disappear every month. I thought about the 3 years, the sacrifice, the silence, and I didn't feel regret. I felt proud. Because the night they said I contributed nothing was the night I finally stopped giving everything away.